Okay, guys, this is problem number 31 that we did this morning, that you were working on this morning in class. And I was not paying enough attention to this problem, so I want to go over this one with you. Some of you said to me that the book, when you were looking in the book, which I never look at those solutions and I should, use the cosine law twice. And I was kind of blown away by that because I've never used the cosine law twice. But I see their wisdom in that. But I want to explain it if you just use the cosine law once. And I'll explain to you why cosine law twice was good. But okay, so this problem, you knew B was 40 degrees. You know A is 5 and A is 8 and C is 5. So you're going to have to use the cosine law because you know two sides and the included angle, and you cannot use the sine law because you don't have a side opposite. So you use the cosine law, and when you use the cosine law, you're going to get 5.26 for B. And I think you've probably all done that and done that. Okay, so what they did was they used the cosine law a second time, but let's just for now, let's not use the cosine law a second time. And so if I go for side A is 8, and that's going to be my longest angle. Okay, it has to be my longest angle. So if I go sine of A is to 8, the sine of B, or the sine of 40 degrees, is to 5.26. And when I solve that by taking the inverse sine, I'm going to get sine A is 77.26. 77.26. Well, that looks good so far because 40 degrees is less than 77 and B is less than 5.26 is less than 8. But then when I do my subtraction, I get 64 degrees and 64.14% degrees for C. Now I have a problem because C is my shortest side and it should be my smallest angle, but it was not. And so we didn't recognize that this was the ambiguous case, and we should have considered both sides. Now I want you to pay real close attention to this because number 36 is a lot like this, but you don't use the cosine law on number 36. Is when you get this. Okay, remember that the height is less than A, which is less than B. That's the ambiguous case. But in the ambiguous case, we can't always think about it as A and B. We think about A as being across from the side that we know the angle and the side that are across from each other, and B being the one we don't know. So we're gonna, because we're used to doing this like this, let's rearrange this problem and let's put B, A, C. Go B, A, C. Okay, so 40 degrees is here. The side opposite is 5.26. And then the side that we don't have an angle for is 8. So you don't really have to do this, but we can find the height here. And we could say that the sine of the height is going to be 8 times the sine of 40 degrees. Because remember, the sine of this angle is the opposite over the hypotenuse, but it's not really, the altitude is, but we're going to do it like this, the altitude, not the 5.26. The altitude is the height, the sine of 40 degrees is the height over 8. And so H is the sine of 40 degrees times 8. And when we take that, we get 5.14. So H is 5.14 and A is 5.26 and B is 8. So that tells us we have the ambiguous case. And so we could have a triangle like the one we drew, or it could be like this. So if we take the 77.26 that we got right here, 77.26 right here, and we subtract that, then we're going to get what do you get when you get 77? 102.34. So A is 102.34 or 35, 34. And A is 8 and B is 40 degrees and 5.2, and then C is 64.14 degrees and C is 5. No, it's not 64. That's what we got before. But now when we subtract, when we subtract, we're going to get 37.62. And now it all lines up. The smallest angle has the smallest side. So in their wisdom, they did the cosine law twice, which I've never been taught to do that, and I've never taught anyone to do that. But it was really wise. But you can also figure it out by remembering that there's two cases here. And if you look at this triangle a different way, but don't always think of it as A and B, it's the side that you know the angle of, which is this one, which we found out was 5.26, and the side we don't know the angle of. So then it's H is less than A, which is less than B, and so you needed to use the other case. Now number 36 is like that too. It's not like the first part of this when you don't use the cosine law. You just use the sine law. But A and B are in the opposite places. And I included an old video in your homework with this, so you can look at that if you still need to do more understanding about switching the A and the B. Okay, I hope that helps. I hope that makes you can do better doing that. Okay, thanks.